They thought blocking my pharmacy delivery was about keeping the neighborhood orderly. But when they slammed the gate shut, they didn't just hurt me. They cut off the lifeline for half the community. It started on a Tuesday morning. The pharmacy van always came around 10 like clockwork. Bright white with a blue medical logo, the driver, Kevin, knew my house by heart. He'd pull up, hand me the package, and smile, "Stay well, Mr. Whitaker." But that morning, he called me instead. "John, they're not letting me through the gate." I stepped outside, phone pressed to my ear, and saw him at the end of the street. Parked outside the new electronic gate the HOA had installed just a month ago. Standing there was our HOA president, Martin Blake, arms folded, smug grin. Kevin waved from the driver's seat, holding up the insulated box. Martin just shook his head. I marched over. "Martin, that's my prescription delivery." "Open the gate." He didn't even blink. "Commercial vehicles aren't allowed inside without authorization. Rules are rules." "That's medicine, not a moving truck," I shot back, but he smirked like I was being dramatic. "You can drive to the pharmacy yourself. Everyone else manages." What he didn't understand, or didn't care to, was that my prescription wasn't a luxury. It was a medication I needed on a schedule, one my doctor had arranged to be delivered because skipping doses wasn't an option. But Martin didn't care. The gate stayed closed. When Kevin left that day, I thought it was a one-time misunderstanding. I called the HOA office, explained, and asked for an exception. The next day, I got a letter instead. Violation notice. Unauthorized attempt to allow commercial vehicle access. Fine, $100. My hands shook as I read it. They weren't just blocking the van. They were punishing me for needing it. That week, the deliveries piled up at the pharmacy, undelivered. I drove there once. But I saw an elderly neighbor, Mrs. Alvarez, sitting in the waiting area. She relied on the same service. Her arthritis was so bad she could barely hold a steering wheel, let alone make weekly trips. She looked at me, eyes heavy. "They blocked yours too?" That's when it clicked. It wasn't just me. I started knocking on doors, quietly at first. Mr. Jenkins, 3 houses down, heart medication. The Chen family at the corner, their little boy's asthma inhalers. In total, 7 households admitted they relied on the pharmacy van. All of them had been turned away at the gate. The HOA hadn't just made a rule, they'd endangered lives. So I began gathering proof. Kevin from the pharmacy gave me a signed statement about being denied entry. The pharmacy manager wrote a letter explaining the deliveries were not optional but critical medical services. And then came the gold. State law, clear as day, that homeowners associations cannot obstruct access to medical deliveries. Still, I knew paper alone wouldn't break Martin's arrogance. So I went bigger. I called the local news. A young reporter, Sarah, perked up immediately. "Wait, your HOA is blocking medicine deliveries? That's ridiculous." 2 days later, there was a camera crew parked outside the gate. Sarah interviewed Mrs. Alvarez, who raised her trembling hands and said, "I can live without a lot of things, but not my medicine." That clip went viral overnight. By the next morning, the HOA inbox was flooded. Angry emails, neighbors demanding answers. Even board members started distancing themselves from Martin, muttering that this had gone too far. But Martin? He doubled down. He sent another letter threatening larger fines for unauthorized media presence. When the day came, I stood by the gate, folder in hand. Martin strutted out in his pressed slacks, ready to argue. But the inspector, clipboard under his arm, didn't even let him finish. "Mr. Blake," he said firmly, "you are in violation of state health code. Blocking licensed pharmacy deliveries is not only illegal, it places residents at serious risk. You will cease immediately or face fines of up to $25,000. Martin's jaw clenched. His eyes darted to the news camera still rolling across the street. For once, he had nothing to say. That afternoon, Kevin's van rolled through the gate. No questions, no smirks, just business as usual. But the fallout was far from over. Residents who once sat quietly at meetings now demanded Martin resign. Lawsuits loomed. And the HOA's reputation? Ruined. The irony? A month later, Martin himself started using the pharmacy van. I watched from my porch as Kevin handed him a package one morning. He couldn't even meet my eyes. As for me, I didn't need revenge. Watching the very man who tried to block my medicine rely on the same service was justice enough, because here's the truth. They thought they could block my access. Instead, they blocked themselves from dignity. Now every week, when Kevin's van rolls down the street, neighbors wave. The gate opens automatically, and the whole community breathes easier, knowing the lifeline is back. Because one stubborn HOA president learned the hard way. So tell me, if your neighbors tried to take away your medicine, would you stay quiet? Or fight until the whole truth came out?